to the Sea Society. Who are we? Before I start, I always like to acknowledge that we operate in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So as I'm sure you're all aware, First Nations cared for and took care of the ocean way before any of us did. And it's something I really like to recognize because we work so closely with the ocean. And this is a painting that I love by Alan Siliboy of a beautiful whale. So our mission is to spread curiosity for marine life and inspire a desire to protect our ocean. So we are a nonprofit charitable organization, and we have 3 core values. So the first one is to learn with a hands-on approach. So pretty much no matter what kind of activity we're doing, there's always a hands-on aspect to it. The second is to care for our ocean. And then the third is to connect with our community and with our culture. Our ultimate goal is to open a permanent community aquarium on the Dartmouth waterfront. So I know that's not an Eastern Passage, but we do a lot of our activities in the area. Our office and our storage area is also here in Eastern Passage. And when we first got started back in 2016, all of our operations kind of were here, and we slowly kind of gravitated towards Dartmouth. But we still love connecting with Eastern Passage. And I'll get back to what exactly is a community aquarium a bit later on. Currently, as we work towards this larger goal, we actually do operate a small scale marine interpretive center. So it started off just as a pilot project. Albany Landing offered us this little shack free of charge back in 2017. And then it worked out so well that we just kept going and coming back every single year. A little pause in 2020, of course, but then we came back in full force last year. And it's just really helped us gather like community support, show trust in our project, and just get a lot of support in general. So you might be aware, I mean, it's since at least the 60s, people have been wondering like, why doesn't Halifax have an aquarium? We're a port city. We're so close to the ocean is so important to so many people, like why isn't this happening? And a lot of projects have kind of tried to take off and failed because they kind of crumbled under their own weight. Everybody tried to go for really big things like the Vancouver Aquarium or Ripley's Believe It or Not, and that was just too big. So what we're proposing is smaller scale, and because we have the touch tank hut as a pilot, that really helped build trust because we're the first group that succeeded in at least presenting something. So we have 2 large touch tanks, which you can see on the image here on my left. I don't know if it's on your left. Showcasing all local marine life. We also have, you can see in the other image, a little interpretive wall with a fun matching game. We are great for people of all ages. We often get asked that, like, what is the best age? We do say like families with children from like 5 to 12 is ideal, but as you can see in this picture, it doesn't matter how young or how old you are, you can always enjoy the touch tank hut. We have people that come just as couples, and that always surprises me. I'm always like, oh, were you just walking by? And they're like, no, we purposely came for you. So that's always nice when people come without kids. On the left here, you see 2 of the summer staff I had last year. So we typically hire a lot of students every summer, thanks to Canada Summer Jobs, Eco Canada, Provincial Skills, a variety of employment grants. So it's a great way to be able to offer some work experience in the oceans, because that's another thing that's kind of surprising from Halifax is even though we have so many amazing universities that have really good ocean programs, it's actually kind of limited the amount of work experience you can get in the oceans. At the Touch Tank Hut last year, we also started a new thing, and that's creating some programs. So you can book your private visit. So last year we moved to a private 30-minute visit that you book ahead of time for COVID purposes. We don't open until June, so we'll see where we're at and whether it'll be by reservation again or if we can slowly ease back into walk-ins. But along with your visit, if you want, you can also book a program. So the one on the left there with all the paint is like a little oyster painting craft. That's our most popular one. The kids love being able to leave with a little oyster shell that's painted. And it's great because oyster shells don't get used for homes for hermit crabs, which coned shells do. So that's another thing we do is we take the opportunity during the program to teach about the different shells and which ones you should make sure you leave at the beach because they can be used for little homes for other animals. And the one on the right is showing Geology Rocks, which is our second most popular program, learning about all the underwater geography, the different types of rocks that you can find along the Nova Scotian coast. So the Touch Tank Hut and the Future Aquarium, we really operate on 3 key pillars. So when I said I'd explain what is a community aquarium, it's different from those large-scale aquariums, which are also super important in terms of ocean conservation. I'm not against large-scale aquariums. I think they really hold an important place in terms of ocean education, but we can offer something a little bit different. And one great advantage is that we have a collect, hold, and release philosophy. So that means that we get all the animals in the spring. They're on display for a short season. We say they're on summer vacation because they mostly stay away from predators, although there is some predation in our tanks sometimes. And they get easily fed. And yeah, so they're living it good in the summer. And then we only showcase local marine life. Oh, and then of course we release them back to the sea in the fall. Only showcasing local marine life, so things that are close to home and talking about issues that are close to Atlantic Canada. And then, as I already mentioned, the hands-on learning. So because we have a really low ratio of visitors to staff and volunteers, there's just always someone nearby that can engage with you, tell you fun facts, make sure that you don't have any unanswered questions. So you're not like walking through a ginormous exhibit where you might not encounter anyone for 15 minutes to ask you questions. There's just a lot of that like interpersonal interactions. So I mentioned the release. This past September was our very first public release party, which was super exciting. We did it at Point Pleasant Park, and it was BYOB, bring your own bucket, and everybody shows up with little like Tupperware, or like sometimes you even see people with like little Halloween buckets, which is really cute. And then they would walk up to our volunteers and our staff, get an animal, and then walk down to the ocean and release it themselves into the water. For any of the animals, and we had over 70 people attend, which was great. We didn't like even largely promote it because we planned it, like we got a release permit from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans on Monday, and I was like, let's release them this weekend. But now that we kind of know the ropes, next year we're gonna make an even bigger deal out of it, so stay tuned for that. It was really a lot of fun. And any of the animals that are in much deeper waters, then we had snorkelers, you can see the top right there, that would take them in those mesh bags and then swim out to deeper waters. And we even had one diver, John Lindley, who's the scientific diver from Dalhousie. He was out much deeper. And so the snorkelers were able to bring things that really had to go in deeper waters to John, who would then release them lower into the water. It was a great location because you can really find everything that we collect in our tanks over there, and easily accessible for everybody. Another thing that we did in 2020 is because we couldn't open the Touch Tank Hut, we of course pivoted and we launched a program called Tidal Trekkers. And so that was in different locations. And this one here actually is in Eastern Passage. So at Heartland Point was where we did a few of our treks. This one was just an invertebrate themed one, but we also partnered with someone from the Nova Scotia Bird Society and did a program called Land and Sea. And so you can learn about what we found on the coast, but also about all the awesome birds up in the sky. I'm sure many of you are aware that it's an amazing birding area. So yes, a really fun program. We did some around the Northwest Arm, Rainbow Haven Beach, and it was really popular that people were like asking us to keep this program going even after COVID. So that's something we plan to bring year after year. And it's nice because we can actually extend into the fall. So beyond our operating season for the Touch Tank Hut, which typically ends Labor Day weekend, we can keep Tidal Trekkers going until October. This year we actually held our first spooky one on not on Halloween night because people are too busy then, but a few days before Halloween. So it was after dark. People showed up with flashlights to see what you can see after dark. Another thing that we did because of COVID was start some online education. And so we have I think 19 episodes of Shell and Tell up on our website or on our YouTube channel. You can access them either way. And each one talks about a different species, whether that's an animal or even seaweed or kelp. And we even have one on shoreline cleanups. They're between 4 to 8 minutes, so really fast way to learn more about a species. Really great for again, kids of all ages, but even as an adult, and a good tool as well for teachers. We did have a few teachers that utilize this with their online learning and even with their classrooms. They're not all sponsored, but some of them are, and so it just so happens that side to side, I had 2 member shout outs. So the Cooperators, Bishop's Insurance, no longer a member because he moved out to Antigonish, but I still have to give him a shout out. He used to be on the board. I used to be on the board as well, and it just goes to show some of the great connections that you can make within this business association. So he sponsored episode 11 on sea stars, and then Barb, thank you to her as well, who advertised on our episode 12 about octopuses. Because I'm doing shout outs, I thought might as well keep going with that. I just wanted to thank Chris. He's not here tonight, but he's been sponsoring with us, I think, since the very beginning in 2017 when we started doing sponsorships, and has now gotten up to the You Give Us Porpoise level. We have really fun sponsorship level names. And then Kaiser's Fresh Mart. I'm thanking a bunch of people who aren't here, but maybe they'll see this after. We took part when they used to do the 50-50. Once a year, they would donate the funds of their 50-50 to us. There are other people here who have also donated on a personal level, but because those are not sponsorships, for donor confidentiality, I'm not going to give public thank yous, but you know who you are, and thank you very much for supporting us. Some of those people have donated one-off donations, and a few have become monthly donors, which is really important for small charities like us, and I'm very grateful for that. So thanks to all that support from those sponsors and those donors, this is the impact we've been able to have. So over 10,000 visitors have come to the Touch Tank Hut, and that's pretty great because, like I said, it's just 2 tanks. It's probably the size of your washroom if you want to picture how big it is. And we're only open 3 months of the year. And last year we had a reduced season because it was our first time adapting to the pandemic. So it was just 2 months. We create at least 2 jobs for students every summer in the field. And last year we were actually able to double that, and I hired 4 people, which was amazing. This year I actually hope to hire 6 people, and we're currently hiring for our first full-time contract for 6 months, which is great. I'm actually hoping it'll be a full year contract if we get the funding we want. And we have that on our social media. So if any of you think you know anyone who'd be interested in being a program manager, I'd love for you to share that post. We've had over 400 participants in portable touch tanks. That's not something I covered in this presentation, but pre-COVID, we used to bring small portable touch tanks to different places. We've done a bunch in Fisherman's Cove. And we've had over 500 students participate in our school and camp programs. Again, this was something we did pre-COVID and I'm hoping to bring back soon. We have curriculum-based programming. I see there's something in the chat. Is there something? Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not being told, wrap it up. We've engaged over 60 volunteers and we've had over 16,000 views on our Shell and Tells, which is really great. And then, to finish, oh dear, okay, there we go. To finish things off, I'm gonna do a call to action, because why not? If any of you would like to become a sponsor, I would love that. They're really accessible levels because we do have a lot of small local businesses that support us. So sometimes like we do have large sponsors, and like Deloitte has sponsored us at like the 5,000 plus level, but we post all of these sponsors up on our donor wall, up on our website. We give newsletter shout outs. So it's a lot of visibility for what I find is like really like accessible donor levels. So Sea Star for $250, Flounder Circle for $500, or School of Support, which is $750. That's a new one we created last year. And that one, actually, you're sponsoring a specific program. So like the geology rocks or the painted shell ones, it gets attached to one of those programs, and then you're promoted every time that we bring up that program and that we promote it. So that's one way that if you're interested, you can support us. So when you do a sponsorship like that, typically people will file that under their marketing budget. And alternatively, if you can't come in at that level, or if you were more interested in getting a charitable tax receipt versus getting the promotional benefits of a sponsorship, then you can, of course, just donate in the name of either yourself or your company and get a charitable tax receipt for that. And then with that, if you don't already follow us on social media, you can find some pretty awesome puns like this one. You're shrimply the best. So I encourage you to follow us, and you can also see our website there, and that's my contact information.